There's a family in the parish that I've been keeping vigil with for a couple of weeks now. They have a mother who's beloved to so many of us here, who is near the end of her life's journey. And her husband of more than 60 years is her primary caregiver. They know that the time now is soon. They can feel that her going home is going to be any time. And I've watched as they've gone through the journey toward acceptance of that. And last time I was there, as I left, one of the adult daughters said to me, "Father, pray that God will take Mom soon." You may be able to relate to that feeling. You may have had a journey with someone that makes that feeling sound familiar to you. But what we're hearing about today is different than that. That is not how Mary and Martha feel. And you may find their response to be even more familiar to you today. They say, "Lord, no. Please, no. No. Don't let our brother die. Please do whatever it takes. Please undo this. Don't let this happen." And it gives Jesus an opportunity to show us something that we need to see, teach us a lesson that is very subtle but hugely important. And this story really highlights it. Jesus never promised to save us from dying. He promised to save us from death. And those are not the same thing. It may sound like they're the same thing. And it's confusing for a lot of us. And this story pinpoints how it's different. Jesus does not save Lazarus from dying. He dies. Jesus doesn't make it in time. But he saves him from death. Lazarus, because of Jesus, walks out of the tomb, has dinner with his amazed family that night, and goes on to live many more years. I've often thought about, what did Lazarus do with the rest of his life after this? Did he try calamari for the first time? Did he start playing the lotto? What did he do? This amazing second chance that God gave him. He wasn't saved from dying, and he didn't get to stay alive forever this time. Lazarus is not living somewhere on a street in the East End, 2,000 years old. He later died again. The promise was never that he or any of us would be saved from dying, but that we would be saved from death. There is a couple in our parish, very active, who have a 15-year-old granddaughter halfway across the country. And they got the shocking news late last year that she was diagnosed with a brain tumor. Terrible shock to them, and so scary. The husband of that couple was talking to one of his buddies in town, and the buddy, trying to comfort him, said, "Man, what kind of a God would allow a 15-year-old girl to get a brain tumor?" And our parishioner said, "I don't know, but probably the same God who gave her to us in the first place." We were never saved from having a diagnosis. We were never promised that every doctor's appointment is going to be great and we're going to be given great news. We were never promised that there wouldn't be something someday that would take us. We were promised that we would be saved from death. And I am here to tell you now that 15-year-old granddaughter had brain surgery. The tumor was found benign, and she's back to playing sports. It doesn't always turn out that way, though. And none of us is going to live forever. So we have to focus on the fact that our dying is inevitable, but our death has been conquered. Jesus himself went through dying, but in dying, he conquered death. This Lent, our parish has been reading a book together, the book Holy Moments, and I've been delighted by it, and I'm also been delighted by the fact that so many people have told me, I didn't know about that book, Father. When I first picked that book up, I thought, what's this? And now I really love it. It's had a lot of good insights for me, and I feel the same way. In this week's chapter, Matthew Kelly said that he used to tell people, don't get discouraged. Keep your chin up. Don't get discouraged. And he said he's since changed that because he doesn't think it's realistic. And he realized, how can I tell people that when I myself get discouraged sometimes? He doesn't say that anymore. He now says, don't let yourself stay discouraged. Don't stay discouraged. Things are going to happen. Doctor's appointments are going to go sideways. Biopsies are going to be scary. There's going to be all sorts of things that are going to happen that are beyond our control. And they will be discouraging. But we can't stay discouraged because we know too much for that. So this week would be a really good time for us to prepare for Easter by pinpointing in our own lives, when has God saved us from death? It could be like that girl in the Midwest, that the tumor was benign. But when has God saved you from death in a way that still involved dying? When did someone that you love dearly not survive their cancer? And yet, somehow, you know they did. You know they did survive it. Was there a marriage in your life, maybe your own marriage or the marriage of someone close to you, that you prayed, please, Lord, do not let this marriage end. Please save this marriage. And in the end, the marriage died. And yet, though you wouldn't have believed it at the time, you now have experienced a whole new chapter of life beyond the thing you dreaded. What are the things that you've dreaded and said, God forbid about? God forbid that happen. And it still happened. And now on the other side of it, you realize God carried you through it. It wasn't your undoing. It doesn't mean it wasn't hard, but it didn't destroy you. When is the time that you did not get to sidestep the dying, but the death that you assumed was inevitable didn't happen? I have found that in my own losses, one of the phrases that helps me the most, one of the truths that I know comforts me and I really believe comforts people perhaps better than anything else, is very simple. It's that in life, ultimately, we're all just walking each other home. That's what we're doing on this planet, walking each other home. You're walking your loved ones home, and I'm walking my loved ones home. And we didn't all get here at the same time. And we're not going to go home at the same time. We're walking each other home. The sisters of Lazarus were always walking him home, though they didn't focus on that. He was walking them home as well. That's what life is. That's what we're doing. We are here to remember that God created our lives to last forever. And Christ shows us that on our path, there will be dying. Yes, there will. But in our dying, there will be no death.